Good afternoon, or good evening, I might say. Is the microphones working? It's working. Perfect. Good evening, and thank you for being here. We have just concluded the meeting of the European Ports Alliance, and I'd like to start by thanking all the participants and panelists for their important contributions today. As Minister of Justice in Denmark, I'm deeply focused on how we can combat organized crime, especially drug trafficking. This unfortunately remains a serious threat to our internal security, to our people, our societies and our economies. Ports are places where Europe opens itself to the world and to vital trade and commercial activities. However, we know that Europe's ports are often exploited by organized criminal networks seeking to take advantage of the massive flow of goods moving through our harbors every day. And this is unacceptable. That is why cooperation is absolutely vital, not only across borders, but also between public authorities and private sectors. We clearly need European solutions, which is why the Danish EU Presidency, together with the European Commission and Commissioner Brunner, have taken the initiative to have this ministerial meeting today. The European Ports Alliance is a valuable forum where we can share knowledge, experiences and practical solutions. With this alliance, we can join our efforts to strengthen port controls, improve information sharing and develop new methods to detect and prevent organized crime. In Denmark, we have good experiences with close cooperation between public authorities and private stakeholders. But there's always room for improvement, and I'm encouraged by the proposals that have emerged today. They contribute to our efforts to stand firm against criminal networks. So in closing, I would once again like to thank my colleagues, the panelists and all the private stakeholders for their efforts. Together, we can make a difference in the fight against organized crime and ensure that Europe's ports are not exploited by criminals. Thank you. Magnus?
Thank you very much, Peter. And first of all, thank you for organizing this incredibly important event, I would say. We heard a lot this afternoon from the experts. We're discussing a lot of different parts and different topics, and I think today marks an important moment of our work all together on protecting the gateways into the European Union and into the internal market of the European Union, the ports. That's what we were talking about today. We see and heard a lot of reports also in the last months. A report by the European Union Drugs Agency has shown that over 1,800 tons of drugs were seized at EU seaports between 2019 and 2024, which shows the scale also actually of maritime trafficking. And this is also true here in Denmark, of course. Where just a few weeks ago also the biggest bust of ketamine was made, 700 kilos. So it shows how important and how relevant the topic is. And this is actually exactly why we need the EU Ports Alliance. It has shown in the first year already the importance and has also, I would say, enabled us to first of all create a network, to bring together all relevant different partners. Secondly, also to improve our ability to detect illegal drugs, and thirdly, share our vital information. All the different agencies and member states have across Europe's ports altogether. But of course, our work is far from complete. There is a lot more to do. The latest reports show that criminal gangs are adapting also, and so we have to adapt, of course, as well. And we need to build on what we have already achieved, of course, by further expanding also the Ports Alliance to cover more ports. We saw that there was a shift from the bigger ports to the smaller ports already, which also shows the success actually of the Ports Alliance. And now we have to focus on the smaller ports as well. And also, as a second point by stepping up investment to improve detection. That is also very important. We also need to, I would say, to expand our focus beyond just fighting drug trafficking. That has to be, of course, more to look at all security threats to maritime infrastructure altogether, also including hybrid attacks, for instance, or cyber attacks also, and put also the security of the ports and of the maritime infrastructure at the center of our security and preparedness efforts also. And all these things will be covered by our internal security strategy, by the Protect EU strategy, which will be coming forward soon. Also, the new port strategy will be coming forward soon. And just as important, and we were not talking a lot about money this afternoon, but I think money, of course, and resources to deliver what we want is also important. And our proposal for a new multi-annual budget does exactly that. We focus on security, also migration, of course, but also on security, with 8 billion euros foreseen for internal security alone, which is a lot. We also try to support our agencies, of course, Europol, Frontex, the drugs agency. They are getting and they are foreseen with more money. And this is not only to safeguard our internal market from illicit products, but also to protect the health of this and the safety also of our citizens in the European Union. So thank you very much again, Peter, for all your efforts, and I'm looking, of course, very much forward to working with you and with the Danish presidency.
Thank you, Magnus. We have a couple of questions. Ole?
Ole Ryborg, Danish National Radio and Television. First, a question on today's meeting. You've seen how drug trafficking have moved from larger ports to smaller ports and other waterways. Are there any new tools that you're looking for in the future combat on drug smuggling? And Commissioner Brunner, also, if I can ask you about tomorrow's meeting, where you are going to discuss return of asylum seekers and return hubs. What are your expectations for that discussion tomorrow?
If I can start, I think there were a lot of very, very strong takeaways from today's meeting. One of them is, as you mentioned yourself, that we have seen a divergent traffic from the larger ports in Europe, Antwerpen, Le Havre, Hamburg, Rotterdam, many of the ports that have been really riled with crime and organized crime. And since we started the Ports Alliance, common efforts have helped these countries and the local authorities to crack down on that. But then there have also been a so to say, waterbed effect, that now you see minor harbors and medium-sized harbors, but also, drugs being dropped at sea. And now we need to strengthen our combined efforts, especially when it comes to intelligence sharing. That has been one of the key takeaways today. And then it would also, from my point of view, very interesting to hear some of the private stakeholders also asking for more legislative initiatives, such as an even further ability to provide security checks and background checks of personnel working in the ports, for example. And then also another discussion that we have also prioritized raising during the Danish presidency is how can we put on the agenda. I know that the Commission is also planning to propose ideas when it comes to that, lawful access to data, so that we can actually, see what the criminals are plotting to do.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe one sentence on the lawful access to data. I think that is really important and is what is a common interest, also, and a common focus for the next months to come, because the criminals are always one step ahead, of course, and we have to close that gap as quickly as possible, as good as possible. Because the hands of the law enforcement agencies are tied in a way. So putting a focus on that, I'm very grateful that the Danish presidency does that in the next months to come. Expectations for tomorrow, but for the next 6 months actually, are very, I would say, optimistic, because Denmark is such a good partner when it comes to fighting illegal migration. Denmark has always been the closest partner of the European Commission, and will be, of course, even more in the next 6 months to come, being having the presidency. So we do have a very good basis with our pact for asylum and migration, which is a very good basis, which we have to implement as soon as possible, maybe front-loading also some of the parts. And there were some missing pieces, like you mentioned, the return regulation, which we proposed in the last some weeks ago, which is, I think, something where we also have to work on, and where we want to deliver in the next 6 months. Of course, it has to be a decision by the Parliament, by the Council, but I think with the Danish presidency, that can be a really quick and good step forward. So I'm very optimistic on delivering in the next 6 months together with the presidency on implementing the pact, on return regulation, but also when it comes to safe third country concept, for instance, which we also prepared already and delivered already, and the list of safe countries of origin. So there are a lot of different pieces of the puzzle, and with the Danish presidency, as I said, I'm really optimistic that we can deliver.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
You mentioned that the smaller and medium-sized ports are of increasing concern to you. Could you mention what sort of ports we're talking, and is the Danish port Aarhus one of them?
Well, just to mention an example, we have your Swedish colleague just next to you, and we can see, for example, Helsingør. What also, besides we having a larger interest during the Danish presidency in how we can strengthen our efforts to combat organized crime. Of course, we also wanted to gleefully invited for the second meeting in this Ports Alliance, because we can see that there also is a tendency for the drug trafficking to be shifted from Southern and Central Europe upwards to the Nordic and the Scandinavian countries, and we need to learn from the best practices that they have had in the smaller or in the bigger, but also in the smaller ports. We had the Dutch minister today who also mentioned that the drug trafficking had also moved, still have it a lot in Rotterdam, I think he said, but also being shifted towards smaller ports like Flushing, just to mention an example. And this is in all senses a cross-border issue. Just today, the Spanish police communicated that a Danish criminal network had been arrested in Portugal and apprehended with 1.7 tons of cocaine. So it is in all aspects a cross-border phenomenon, and that's why we need to work as strongly as we can together. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
One more.
Of course.
You mentioned, or this is a collaboration with the private companies as well, and I'm a journalist at Shipping Watch, so I want to ask what sort of things are the private companies and shipping companies requesting from the EU on this? If you could elaborate.
Well, I think some of the takeaways that I put down on my pad, which I found interesting, is that they're actually asking for more regulation when it comes to their access to security checks and background checks. And of course, there are, we have there are GDPR issues when it comes to that. There can also maybe be labor movement discussions concerning that. But nevertheless, the trafficking cannot succeed without the collaboration of someone on the inside, which was also a point made today. So I found that very interesting, that they were asking for more legislative initiatives. All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks very much.